Hello, hello, hello everybody. Welcome to the stream where we are going to be discussing the most recent bit of Leeds United transfer news. And it's the one that I wasn't hugely convinced by the other day. The one where I saw it and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, because it's one of those moves that could go either really, really, really right or really, really, really wrong. Specifically, I will talk you through exactly what the story is first, and then we'll have a little bit more discussion about it between me and between the comments, and we'll see roughly where we land on it. But I've got my opinions in my head already. I will get to those in a couple of minutes after we've discussed what the story actually is. But before we do so, if you've not yet, subscribe. It's the button that's down here that's maybe in red. I don't know anymore because YouTube keeps changing its systems and stuff. But if you do so, be massively appreciated. Also, like the stream. Also, you can be a channel member if you fancy. It's $2.99 a month. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into the main bit of the story. You are potentially right, Rich, but I will get into that in a couple of minutes' time. Anyway, as we all are aware by this point, or at least if you're not aware, you are now, Leeds United have reached an agreement to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin as a free agent. Now, this is one of those stories that came sort of out of nowhere. I say sort of out of nowhere. This is relative to a lot of different places. So, relative to the Muniz thing, where 1,000 different outlets have tried to have 1,000 different opinions heard, which, fine, cool, whatever. But in this case, it was us and it was the player that were just having a chat. It wasn't a case of we needed to get a third party to agree to anything. It was just two parties having a chat, trying to agree something. So that's why it's one that will have been a little bit more sneaky, a little bit more under the radar. And now here we are. But reached agreement. Reached an agreement in principle, set to undergo a medical imminently with a view to completing the move. That would be presumably announced, depending on how quickly the medical goes, later today, tomorrow, some point during this week. Been available since he confirmed in June he'd be leaving the Merseyside club as a free agent when his contract expired, having spent 9 years at Goodison Park after joining from Sheffield United. Scored 71 in 274, but his time was plagued by injuries, all this kind of stuff, which is a little bit of why I'm spooked by this. They offered him a new deal last summer, but the agreement never materialised, so that will have presumably been on lesser terms, because you've got a player that doesn't necessarily consistently play, because obviously why are you going to pay him more money if he's not playing that much because he's consistently injured. After announcing his intention to leave, he posted, "It's not something I choose lightly, been my home since this age, etc, etc, etc. We'll focus more on the bits that actually affect us, so specifically, it'll be the 8th signing of the summer as we return to the Premier League after winning the Championship. The other striker we've signed is Lucas Mecha from Wolfsburg. I'll get into that one in a moment, because I think that's a little bit relevant as well. Played 11 times for England, scored 4 goals, even though his last cap came in 2021. Right, so important little bits to get from this. First up is the bit that I've got highlighted still here. The other striker they signed is Lucas Mecha from German side Wolfsburg, who was a free transfer of a player that has consistently missed out on minutes from his prior club because of injury issues, which isn't ideal. And there's a couple of little thoughts that I've got on this. The first is what has been mentioned by Jay Racer, up here, stating that from the Leeds View, go and subscribe to the Leeds View if you haven't yet, although you very probably have. Jer's news piece mentioned there was a story we were after 2 strikers, hopefully meaning we're still going for another striker. I wouldn't want someone like Mitrovic, I've got to be completely honest with you. I don't think he's got the profile that we necessarily need, but another striker, so it wouldn't just be Calvert-Lewin. The main point of concern that I've got is if you're going to sign a striker that has a little bit of an injury history, you're going to want to sign another striker that doesn't. Because at the end of the day, we want multiple profiles up top, but we want players that are going to be available. The biggest issue that everyone had around Patrick Bamford wasn't around ability, it was around availability. And that was completely fine. This is why when he's leaving this summer, even though I'm someone that likes and liked Patrick Bamford, I'm like, sure, it's fine, it's time for him to go, because we can't consistently rely on him to get minutes in the Premier League. Because when he's on his game, he's fantastic. but he's not on his game often enough because of the injury issues. So my immediate thinking was, if we sign someone that is consistently fit, that's okay. That's what counts. Because you've got someone who can get all of those minutes in and perform at a reasonable standard at the same time. With Calvert-Lewin, you've bought a similar thing, a similar sort of item, a similar product. You've gotten yourself a player who on their day is fantastic, is a world beater, will put in all the running over ground that you could possibly dream of, will be all over the shop, and will make sure that other defences are hounded constantly, which is what we need. 100%. However, they will do that until they are not injured. And that's the bit that's the concern to me. Because a lot of people have, and I've had so many conversations about this, that have gone along the lines of, hold on, I'm just going to very quickly do a search for Calvert-Lewin. Yeah, there's a lot of people that I've talked to that have very, very consistently said, he's a very, very, very good player if he's fit. If he's doing a lot of work when it comes to Calvert-Lewin. So if I go to, where would it be? Absences, injury history, there we go. So, let's just zoom in on Calvert-Lewin's injury history for a moment and talk about why this is a little bit of a concern to me. So, if I go to monitor number 2, here we are. I'm going to go from 22-23 onwards because that's when things started to kick in. In 22-23 alone, he had 4 separate injuries. He had knee injury that put him out for 61 days. From that point, he was available for a month. That first injury, he missed 12 matches. The next one, hamstring injury, missed a further 4 matches. He only missed just 4 matches because there was the Qatar World Cup in this space. Because as you see, it goes until 28th of December. So November, December of 2022 is the World Cup. If not, he's missing about 8 matches in that stretch. From this point, he's fit for another month and a week or so, until the 4th of February, when he gets injured for another 2.5 months, 76 days, misses 11 games. A month later, on the 20th of May, he gets another injury that puts him out for another 2 games. 23-24. Manages to miss 4 games. Not 4 games, manages to, well, his main issue was he came back from his injury, had a fitness issue, missed 1 match. That's fine, that happens. When you're returning from an injury or lots of injuries, this is sort of natural. You're going to end up in a situation where you're struggling to get all of your fitness back. Then, followed by broken cheekbone. Okay, that's not great, but that's going to be an impact injury. That's not really affecting the muscular nature of things. Then he gets ill towards the end of the year, but again, that's fine. That's not something that can be super helped. The bit that concerns me most is the injury that kept him out for the bulk of last season. From the 26th of January till the 5th of May. 100 days out, misses 14 games of football. With a hamstring injury. That's the wrong button. There we go. With a hamstring problem. Now, normally I'd be like, okay, cool. If it's a hamstring issue, fine. That's not necessarily the biggest of issues. It's not something that is going to be constantly repeated. In the case of Calvert-Lewin, it kind of is. Because hamstring issue in 2021 kept him out for 2. Hamstring issue in 21-22 kept him out for another 2. 22-23, if you combine his hamstring issues, 17 more matches. Add this 14. So that's 33, 35, 37. Have we got anything on the second page of his injuries? Not for a hamstring. So he's missed an entire season of Premier League football in his career so far, with hamstring injuries. So my issue isn't what is his level of talent, because in terms of his level of talent, Calvert-Lewin is very, very clearly a good footballer who has worked his way into the England squad and has managed to be a very consistent presence in that Everton side for a long time when they have had repeated opportunities to say, okay, is this striker better than you? No, okay, we'll shuffle them out, Calvert-Lewin sticks around. Is this guy better? No, okay, shuffle them out, Calvert-Lewin sticks around. The concern for me above anything else is that he is effectively in the same position as a Pat Bamford, where it's a question of, if you've played enough football consecutively and you're in a decent run of games, wonderful. You're going to perform to a very, very high standard. We love to see it. If you are not able to do that, and you are suffering from injuries, like he has when he has missed an entire season worth of football to his hamstring, that's where you get issues. And if at the same time Mecha is struggling with injury issues, because we know that Mecha has injury problems, because we've had this conversation before, and this entire conversation was based on, okay, so we've got Mecha, we've got Piru, we've got question mark, but we're going to sign another forward, and they are going to be a slightly different profile, and they are not going to be as injury prone, because then, regardless, if Mecha's injury issues continue, you've got Piru, who hasn't missed a single match in the league when he has signed for Leeds United. Like, he's played every single game in the league under Daniel Farke. That is the level of consistency that we've got with Piru. But in the event that Mecha and Calvert-Lewin's injury issues combine at the same time, then you've got Piru. And behind Piru, you've got Harry Gray. Because if Bamford is on the way out, because he reportedly is, he's training with the under-21s, there's reports of various clubs having a bit of an interest in him. If it looks like Bamford is being filtered out, then you're relying on a 16 or 17-year-old next on the list, which ain't what you want to see. And as much as like Noxon FC is saying here, he's considerably better than Bamford in every department, though, hold up play, etc, 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 etc. Yeah, if he's fit. That's the question. Is he fit? And that best ability being availability question that keeps on happening and keeps being a phrase that a lot of people have said in my direction whenever I was sort of supportive of Bamford, pointing out that when he was on the pitch, he genuinely improved significantly. Does he have that availability? That's the big question mark for me. So it's sort of in, for me, the territory of, if he's fit, this is a very good move. But will he stay fit? Will he be consistently available for us? And what does that practically mean going forwards? And that's the bit that I'm a little bit scared about. There is the rumour that we are potentially going to be signing another striker, and if that is to be the case, then this is a good move. Because if that is the case, then we've got plenty of support in that position. Because that position is one of the weaker areas of the pitch, and if we don't have that backing there, then problems. Because we do need to replace Bamford and Matteo. And if you look at it and you say, well, we replaced one of them with Mecha, okay. But combined, Mecha and Calvert-Lewin have roughly the availability of Matteo Joseph. So we still need someone to have that Bamfordy profile. So I think we potentially get another one in, and if we don't, this is a bad move for me. It's not the move that you do if you're only getting one centre forward in. I have heard various whispers and rumours and all that kind of stuff of another forward coming in for Leeds United, which isn't going to be Calvert-Lewin, that would add a little bit more depth. And we are still in various conversations with various wingers, all this kind of stuff. The El Canoes clause comes to a close in 2 days' time, so we will find something out on that one as well. But I don't know. It's getting weird. I'm not sure. Weren't people saying Solomon was injury prone when we signed him? Think he only had one minor injury all season. The Solomon thing wasn't him being injury prone in terms of he's got one bit of his body that affects him time and time again. So those hamstring issues that have been suffered by Calvert-Lewin have come between the 21-22 and the 24-25 season. He's been plagued by that hamstring. However, the difference between that and Solomon was Solomon's issue was one big injury that kept him out for a season. And after that point, it was the standard sort of niggles and stuff like that that you get when you are coming back from a big injury problem. Rather than the same thing consistently going, and you're out for 4 games, you're out for 7 games, you're out for 15, and all that kind of stuff. We don't know specifics on what the contract would look like. We don't know specifics on what wages you get, how long it would be, all that kind of stuff. And I think for me, that is also what defines whether or not this is a good move. Because if he's coming in on what the sort of rumoured wage demands initially were, which was something like 100 and odd £1,000 every single week, that's not great, to be honest with you. But if he's on what Bamford was on or less, then I'd say we're probably fine with it. If it exceeds Harrison, then it's not on. That's too far to go and just going to cause more issues. But I don't know. I have also seen a couple of people mentioning stuff about, and this is a very weird one. I've seen people mentioning that Bamford may have a clause that is he needs to be the highest paid player at the club or something along those lines. As far as I'm aware, that is bollocks. That is, from what I remember, absolute nonsense. So that isn't something that will cause us any particular problems either. As much as a lot of people are looking at it and going, but if Pat is guaranteed to be the highest paid player, then that means that he's going to be on whatever wages Calvert-Lewin is, which means that he's going to be harder to shift. That isn't the case as far as I know. So that I'm just clearing that one up before it gets to be a big topic of conversation. There is a little bit of a something around El Canoes that I'm going to dive into before anything else, and I just think this one's worth discussing. From Fossey Hub, I don't know how reliable that is, but it's got an actual source on it, which is Craig Hope of the Daily Mail, who tend to be reasonable when it comes to football stuff. Being that Newcastle have pulled out of the race to sign El Canoes. I don't know whether that is a case of El Canoes wants a certain number of minutes, where they've got an eye on someone else. I know that they were making a move for Aaron Ramsey, for example. But if they are pulling out of the race for El Canoes, that leaves very, very few options for him. That leaves us, that leaves Palace, that leaves maybe Leipzig, if they're still in the conversation. I can't quite remember. But as far as I'm aware, we're good on that front. I think. I hope. Anyway. We need more quality in attack, scoring goals is key. It is, yeah, which is why I hope that we sort out that creative player, that winger. If that is an El Canoes, then that is absolutely wonderful. I've got no issues with that. We know El Canoes is a quality player. And it's not even just a case of on his day he's a good player, he just is a good player. Oh, they did the thing. Hold on, this is fun. I hope this doesn't get me copyright stricken, but Leeds have done an anti-discrimination advert, which is good because discrimination, pretty shit, and too many people do it. But I've got to show this because I've recorded this in the summer of last year, and I've been very quiet about it ever since because I was like, oh, I don't know if this is actually going to get like released. But it is looking at various situations in which discrimination happens, and it's like, what's the right response?
Don't even know football, and you got kitchen to get back to.
We've got all that stuff.
What you do with there? Oi, you dirty scumbag!
I'm in the background. I forgot about that. I forgot I filmed that. That's nice. But yeah, they didn't use the take where the guy got just yanked out by security, and it was Jacob Ramsey. Yeah, sorry, it was a Ramsey. It's fine. But it was in the territory of being like, the guy got yanked out of the crowd so hard that I was like, this is legitimately funny. And I couldn't stop myself from laughing, but they didn't use that take, so that's good. Anyway, as it stands, we're going down. Not gonna score many goals with what we have. Need a lot more talent going forward before the window ends, and we'll get it. Like, we know that we will get moves done. Like yesterday, I had people trying to say to me that like Leeds aren't going to get any more players in. It's going to be game over. We're done. We're getting relegated immediately, and that's not going to be the case because, as we've seen today, a move is happening, which is good. Played great under Ancelotti when they played a wing-heavy tactic, where they crossed it a lot. I've got hiccups now. But his injuries are a big worry. The injuries are what concerns me the most. If we're able to sort that and we're able to make sure that he is a fit and healthy player in a timely manner, then we're okay. But if that doesn't happen, then this is risky. It's one of those moves that is a risk, no matter what happens. If it pays off, then fantastic. I'm really, really happy with it. But if it doesn't, then I think we might have made a fairly expensive mistake. I'm going to do a poll, actually. I'm curious about the people's view. So if I quickly start poll, in fact, I'll phrase it differently. Would you have signed Calvert? So, yes. Cool. So I'm running the poll. Would you have signed Calvert-Lewin on a free? Options being yes, as the only striker signing. Yes, as long as we get a second striker, and no, not at all. Just because I want to sort of get everyone's opinions on it and see where we're all sitting on that. Because I think that's quite interesting. Because I think it is dependent on the rest of the business that we do. He is on a free. I know he's on a free. That's fair. On the note that has been made, where is it, by Why So Quiet Gaming? Have we only done this move because the Fulham lad's off somewhere? It feels like a panic move. I disagree, because I think what we will have done is it's not strictly a panic move. I think what will have happened is we've approached it from the perspective of if we can't get Muniz, then we immediately move on to the next target and we line up that next target. So it's not going to be a case of we've done it in a panic, we're in a flap, all this kind of stuff. That will be what the plan is. Because no matter what, you are going to plan to go from, okay, if not Paisho, then we try El Canoes. If not El Canoes, we go on to the next. If not the next, then we go on to the next. And it'd be very, very silly to not have these backup plans in place. In all likelihood, we had already had the bare bones structure of an agreement with Calvert-Lewin in place. We would have known, okay, this is the wages that you want. This is the structure that you want. This is the length of contract that you want. This is what we want. Okay, let's do a little bit of compromising. Nice. If we come to you at some point later in the window with this offer, would you accept it? Yes or no? Cracking? Cool. And then we get back on with the Muniz thing. Because once we get back on with the Muniz thing, at least we now definitely have this fallback option as a just in case. Just to make sure. I don't see D-Cell signing for us unless he's been given some confidence he's our number 9. I don't know. I think there's probably a chance that he's seen the situation that's in front of him, and he's gone, okay, I was consistently injured at Everton. That's why I've not got a new contract there. Everton hovering in the bottom half. Realistically, I'm going to need to do enough to secure a place. I'm not going to be guaranteed minutes. Like, what will have been absolutely certain to all of the signings, and it has been for quite some time, is that there is no guaranteed certain starting position for any player. And I think that will have been the case since Jed Spence. Because we learned from Jed Spence and we went, you've been a bit of a tit and you've not earned your way past Archie Gray, who isn't actually a right back. So we'll be actively baking into all of the agreements that we make going forward that maybe we don't make it so that people are guaranteed minutes, because that's stupid, because that's genuine insanity, especially when, for the most part, It's Calvert-Lewin that affects his own ability to get minutes. Bamford's 31, Calvert-Lewin's 28. I wouldn't compare the two. I don't think age exempts him from it, because 3 years isn't that much of a gap. So when you look at it at face value, and you look at both of those players, you say that in the season of 2021, they both had absolute crackers. Bamford got, I believe, 17 in the league. I think Calvert-Lewin got 16 in the league. Something like 19 in all competitions or something like that. Which is great. Sure, cool, wonderful. But then each season after that, they have all failed to get on the pitch quite so much. They've all been consistently injured. I say all, there's 2 of them. They've both been consistently injured, sorry. But in the time that they've been on the pitch, they've impressed. When you're looking at the 2 of them, you're saying those are borderline identical. So, as someone that has a pretty good belief in the fact that we're a decent enough medical department, like we got Solomon fit and firing and not being an injury out for the majority of last season. Fantastic, wonderful, brilliant start. We got I can't remember. I had a name in my head then and it didn't come, but it's fine. We'll move past it. But after the departure of Rob Price, I firmly believe that we're heading in the right direction in terms of the medical department. If they believe that they can sort out Calvert-Lewin, wonderful. And if they succeed in that, he is going to thrive up there. Because, assuming we do get that creative player, I think it will potentially be El Canouse in the coming days. I've seen a lot of conversation floating around Buonanotte as well, which is very interesting. Like, if that does happen, that would be a wonderful signing. But I think get the right signings at this point and we're good. But what we've done here is we've gotten a signing that comes with baked-in risk. And that makes me a little bit on the fence, I think. We got Strouk back. That as well. Strouk relatively consistently fit. Admittedly, he misses a month every season. But the moment he comes back from that month of injury, he always looks rock solid again. We look on the croc list now for signings very cheap. You can say that, but at the same time, we are also still looking at El Canouse. We are potentially looking at Buonanotte. There's various players that we've got our eyes on, and it's not all various injured footballers that like previously had a heyday but don't anymore because of X, Y, or Z reasons. I think in the event that he can stay fit, I think this is a very, very good signing. In the event that he can't, this is a scary signing. Hold on, I'm accidentally flicking through the thing again because I was fairly sure that there was a little bit more crowd bit, but have they not used that one? No, they've not. That's fine. Anyway, I don't know. Top class signing, but as soon as you rely on him and he gets injured, you're in trouble. Happened with Bamford and Rodrigo. Yeah, it's a question of are we going to be reliant? Because that's not the spot that we want to be in. And I like, admittedly, yes, an injury crisis that takes out three senior forwards is incredibly unlikely. Because, as I mentioned earlier, there was the potential risk of, yeah, but what if Piru and Metcher and Calvert-Lewin all get injured at the same time, then you don't have Harry Gray. That's not necessarily a likely circumstance, but it's a circumstance that you need to be aware of, because at the same time, it wasn't a likely circumstance, last time we were in the Premier League, that we would have needed to put a 15-year-old in there. But injury issues meant that, in the end, Archie Gray had to be on the bench for a match against Arsenal. So we need to be ready for that. So I think if we keep adding that depth, then we're good. Solomon was injury prone, didn't have a peak last season. Yeah, that's one of the things that's keeping me optimistic on the injury front. That the medical department have done a very, very genuinely good job. I think he missed a little bit, Solomon, but he didn't miss too much. Like, we had more issues in terms of injuries with Ramazani more than anything else. But we'll know. Joe had been told all these how true. All what? What do you mean how true? Because when it comes to like the interest in El Canoes and the interest in Pie Show, when you've got that many outlets reporting it and all of them outside the Leeds United sphere, then you kind of got to look at it with the approach of, oh, okay, so those are going to be things. Profile of him as a striker has been proven to be good for promoted teams in staying up, so let's hope he can stay fit and firing for us. I think he will. And I think in terms of like the quality that we've got in the squad at the moment, we're in a decent spot. And in terms of the qualities of the tactics as well, the fact that we have played against a Champions League side, we played against Scum, and we've played against AC Milan, they're not bad teams. But they're teams that we dealt with reasonably well. What the hell? Oh my god. Sorry, I've just seen some screenshots from the new Football Manager. It looks so good. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna... hold on. I'm gonna do a quick poll again. Do I go? Yes. Do I go? There we go. That's that poll run. Bad signing, says Begbie. I think signing that has potential to be bad, but also a lot of potential to be an absolute screamer. It could go either direction for me. Oh, 62% no's. That's genuinely painful. Anyway, chuck your answers in there. If you'd fancy watching it, just put it on the yes pile. Because it would be good to have an idea of how many people would have an interest. Because what I did last year was when the game came out, I gave it a play and I only played it on stream. But then when it came to like off-stream stuff, I didn't really play it in the slightest. But if you would genuinely fancy watching it, just pop a yes on it, because it'd be quite good to sort of to get an idea of what the numbers would be like, you know? No to FM because I need to keep my relationship. That's the thing though, right? Because those streams are ridiculously chill. Like, during transfer windows, you might have gotten familiar with these streams where it's like, there's a piece of news, people are panicking, let's talk about it. Whereas those are very, very vibey. I really like the Football Manager streams. On console only, so no, it's better on PC. What do you mean on console only? No, I'm asking, should I do a Football Manager series, which I would do on PC? As I stream always on PC. Let's retweet that. Just showing what's your opinions on DCL. The opinions on DCL are roughly, if he stays fit, then it's a fantastic signing. My only concern is if is doing quite a lot of work. If is a very, very big question because it can be tough a lot of the time. Because if he's not super injured, then we know he's got a lot of quality to him. It's just a question of if he is injured, that's where the concerns kick in. I like all the optimism here, still not facing up to reality. You can say that if you like, but you simultaneously aren't facing up to the reality of there's 19 days left of the window. And about yesterday, people were saying, we're not going to add anyone to the squad, we're doomed, we're going to go into it with just Peru and Mecha up top. And then, like, 20 hours later, we've gotten another forward in, and it might not be the forward that people have wanted. And I'll be honest, It's not necessarily the forward that I wanted, but it's someone to add that little bit of depth, that little bit of quality, and I think it could point us in the correct direction, which is ultimately a good thing. Great replacement for Bamford and Joseph. He has prime experience and real potential if kept fit for a free transfer and more incomings to come. It's a great bit of business. Yeah, it is free as well. Like, I don't think his wages will be too huge. He'll get a sign-on bonus because that tends to happen with free players. But you never know. I'm trusting. Also, thing I've heard on Muniz, I don't know whether I cover that now or I cover that another point, but from what I've heard from a couple of folk, it looks like there was interest from Leeds. We sent down a delegation to maybe have talks with Fulham to say, look, this could be quite nice if we're able to get that done. And then that ended up not happening. Fulham blocked off communications, therefore Muniz isn't going to happen, and that's why I think we moved on to Calvert-Lewin fairly sharpish. Might be wrong, but for me, this signing makes more sense if he becomes second choice and Peru sold loan. No. I do not think we sell or loan out Peru. Peru is a deadly finisher. And I think with his level of like quality and finishing, it would be a bad idea to try and slide him out of there. Don't forget he's got no agent. Has he got no agent? That'd be a horrible decision. Surely he's got someone representing him. His player agents are his relatives. A few players do that sometimes, to be fair. Hopefully he's a stopgap until we can attract a top quality striker. Yeah, I'm thinking he's going to be one of two. And if that is the case, I'm totally behind that. Colifaris is nuts. I'm not going to call him nuts. I'm just going to say that I don't agree with that take. But you can have that take all you like. Sacked him to represent himself. That's fair. That's probably after the failed contract talks in that case, right? Agents can work for the clubs as much as players. That's true. Which is a little bit weird. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to be streaming for too much longer, but we'll have a little bit more of a natter. I might go for like 45 minutes. I don't know. But if you haven't, please pop a like on the stream. That's massively appreciated. It really helps to sort of push the stream out to more people and get more people on board and encouraged and all that kind of shebang and that kind of thing. Going to do another quick poll. It looks like the majority of you are up for the Football Manager streams, which will be quite nice. But I'm going to start a poll. There we go. On the 1st of September, do I do a big deadline day marathon stream? Simple yes, no. If you guys want that, then great. But I quite like doing the longer streams, even if it looks like there's not too much happening at the time, because they tend to just be like nice chill hangouts. But it's a question of like, would people hop in and watch the stream for long enough to be worth the time? Because they're good fun, but at the same time, it takes a lot of like effort to try and like get people on and not doing their own shit. And occasionally, if someone else does a stream, then everyone goes, "Oh, shiny new stream," and tends to leave, which makes it a little bit complicated. But I'm tempted to do a big long one rather than 2 or 3 shorter ones, just because I think it could be quite good. Getting rid of Peru and signing Dominic Calvert-Lewin would be a sackable offence. Genuinely, I think that would be the case. 24-hour? No, I'm not doing a 24-hour stream. I might do like 8 or 6. I don't know. I've already told my 7-a-side team that I'm not showing up that day. Unless I do it as like an IRL stream. And I wear like one of those road mics and just sort of chat with the stream whilst in net. No, that'd be horrible. Last week we lost 5-1. That was pain. As long as you bring the pigeon back, I don't know if the pigeons are coming back. We've gone towards cheese now. We're a cheese loving community, rather than pigeon kind, which I think it's fine. You might not love it, but that's the way we are now. Anyway, I have spotted that Matty over at Imagine Not Being Leeds is currently live. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to redirect at the end of the stream, which is going to be in about a minute. But as we all know, we like to confuse people when we go over to other people's channels. So, rather than doing like Joe B raid or anything like that, do not mention Joe B in the slightest, even a little bit. We're just going to go over there and we're going to include a comment that features the word cheese. It could be Dominic Cheese Lewin or D Cheese L or something like that. But either way, needs to include the word cheese. And it cannot mention me in the slightest. We're trying to confuse him here. That's the goal. Are we all behind it? If you're behind it, just spam the number 1 in chat. We're building the cheese army. Dominic Calvert-Cheesing. That'll do. Anything that is specifically related to cheese, a pun is ideal. But the cheese army. Breezy L. Perfect. It's got to be cheese. And he's going to look at his chat and he's going to be like, what's going on? Why is everything full of cheese? We got to do this. If we go over here.
DCL, I can understand the fan support, but it's going to disappear when he gets injured. Too much risk, yeah. But like I said,
we're going to spam him with cheese.
If he gets injured,
and he's going to love it, and it's going to be funny.
And it is what it is, okay,
but
at that point.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the stream to a close in a moment. Hope you all enjoyed. Remember, we're going over there, and we're mentioning cheese. Any cheese, no context. Don't say Joe B sent you, anything like that. We're just going to confuse him. Anyway. Dominic Cheddar Lewin. That works. Dominic Camembert Lewin. Perfect. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you over on Matty's channel. Toodaloo.